just what makes a game more than the sum of its parts? Well, Dead Space may have an answer for this. Originally released back in 2008, it's now a 14-year-old game. Yet I remember it distinctly and very vividly. That isn't purely down to just the gore and the shock value, although of course that does play a part. No, the reason I remember the game so well is because almost every aspect of it was standout. Its in-world UI, its methodical pace, its story and environments, all of it gelled together perfectly. Over the years, there has been really only a handful of games that have become more than the sum of their parts, and Dead Space is definitely among those. That said, today, the original game is certainly starting to show its age. I mean, how could it not? 14 years is a very long time in the video game world. Although that said, and to be perfectly fair, such is the quality of its design that the game stands up remarkably well, even today. Now yesterday, a trailer for the Dead Space remake was released, and for me at least, it allayed a few fears. Whilst it's impossible to judge for sure, it does seem that the game is in good hands and is remaining true to form. Although, as I said, it's still very much early days, and only time will truly tell. But the thing that really stood out to me was the clear use of audio, the in-world UI elements, the extreme kinetic feel of the gameplay, the wonderful use of environment, and many more factors. All of these are certainly coming from the original title. Now it's clear that the developers understand that Dead Space was indeed more than the sum of its parts, and that is a good sign. It means that they may very well be able to bottle lightning twice. Now, the timing of Dead Space release is also really interesting. There's a few other titles out there which have very clearly taken inspiration from Dead Space, and their release windows aren't all that different to Dead Space. To start with, it's hard to look at Callisto Protocol and not think of Dead Space. On the one hand, they're clearly very different games, but on the other hand, it's obvious that Callisto has been heavily inspired. There's more than a few moments in the Callisto Protocol trailer where this is abundantly clear. For example, just look at the way Jacob Lee moves here. It is very reminiscent of Isaac. The same can be said for the armor. Whilst the titles are certainly far from identical, inspired by seems to be a very fair term to use here. Another game, likely less inspired by Dead Space, but certainly sharing a lot of common thematic concepts, is Scorn. Now I have played Scorn. My playthrough video of the preview build is linked on the screen right here. You can also find that link in the video description. Scorn then is very clearly a lot different to Dead Space, and I don't want to draw too many parallels between both titles. However, there's a distinct sense of being very immersed in the surreal, horror-filled world. Dead Space and Scorn both have this sensation down to a fine art, and just maybe Callisto Protocol is going to do the same as well. It's something that a lot of games aim for. However, many certainly miss the mark. And it's not simply about horror, just painting the walls with gore or building up nightmarish environments. Instead, it's about tapping into the psyche of the player, drawing out elemental archetypes. This clearly is not an easy thing to achieve. A lot of horror movies aim for this goal, the majority miss it by a mile. It means then, for Dead Space, there could have been a number of things working against it. The first big hurdle is whether or not the dev team understood the components of what made the game successful. The trailer though seems to answer a resounding yes to that question. This puts us onto good grounds for the second hurdle. In recent years there's been a lot of unneeded sequels, prequels and remakes, both in gaming as well as in TV and movies. Often they have failed to truly recapture lightning. They end up being divisive, rarely appealing to the original audience. Occasionally, they even try to subvert the audience. More often than not, this backfires spectacularly. Now, it's completely understandable why, after years of this, fans of successful games and movies have become rather jaded and more than a little apprehensive when remakes are announced. Occasionally, though, there are some true gems. The projects that really understand what made their original parts so special. So far, the signs are looking pretty good for Dead Space then. Let's see how it turns out. But it does seem to be trending towards the good side. Do let me know your thoughts and feelings on the Dead Space remake trailer reveal. I'd love to hear from you in the comment section. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time.